Hello everyone, Hound here with another Vikings War of Clans video. So this video is going to be completely different. If you notice by the length of the video, it is a completely different style of video. So for this video, I think we decided to go with a podcast style. And the reason we decided to go for a podcast style was to kind of capture what other players who are more experienced and have just different experiences from me feel about the update, how they're going with the update, and what their strategy is in order to succeed. So what I wanted to do was create somewhat of a podcast episode where we could talk to people from the community and just learn more from their experiences. Now, what I need from you to do is, if you end up watching the podcast, please let me know how you feel about it. Is this something that you'd be open to watch on a long-term basis? Because this is something that I think would genuinely help give back to the community, and it's something that I really enjoy to do, talking to people and learning more about their experiences. And yeah, if you guys really like this episode, I would not mind continuing it and also talking to more people from different backgrounds, and again, getting more perspective on multiple different subjects. Anyway, I hope that you enjoy watching the podcast, and let's jump right into it.
Did Palace level 37 with gold, and I don't really feel like I needed to. Like, that extra gold could have been used for, knowledge. Now that I'm out of gold and still want to, do some knowledge with gold, so I have to kind of manage that a little bit better. But little things like that, like I could have switched later if I had more resources, because it's a lot of resources. Like, specifically the buildings, I had about 6 to 7 trillion of each resource, and about 10 trillion silver. And I made it until about 4 buildings before level 40, the palace level 40. That's when I switched to gold. And I also did my palace levels 37 and up with gold. And all in all, from there all the way to level 40 Oracle, I used 2.1 billion gold. So it's really not that much. It is a lot, but in hindsight, I mean, if you save up your gold and have been saving it for a while for the update, you should be able to do that pretty quickly. If you don't have gold, I would just recommend trying to do it slowly, doing things one step at a time, saving up some gold packs, and kind of going from there.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing to do is to get to Oracle 36 or Oracle 37, because then you can access the knowledges. You won't be able to do that unless you go to that route.
Yeah, but the knowledge is, I think at level 36, you can only unlock level 3. So you kind of want to focus really on those buildings as soon as possible before you can really jump into the knowledge trees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and you need to kind of have
37
swords.
is a big, Oracle 37 is a pretty important.
Yeah. If I recall, yeah, that's more the benchmark than 36.
Yeah.
And how many shards do you guys think it was? I mean, I used about 450 million, which I've been saving up for a long time, my shards for the update. So I used about 450 million on the buildings up until, like I said, those 4 buildings before Palace level 40. But also, I think I saved a lot of shards by doing the Palace levels 37 and up with gold.
Yes. I actually didn't use much shards at all. And I just golded it basically up to 40.
Oh, really? Like all the way from level 35?
Yes. Well, I mean, I just did the bare essentials. I did not, level things that didn't need to be leveled. So whatever
I know you've been saving gold forever for the update.
Yeah.
How much did you manage to save?
I managed to save 11 billion.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
And how much?
But now I'm down to 3.6. Huh?
Wow.
How much gold, if you remember, how much gold did it cost? A rough estimate to go from 35 to 40.
Not as bad as I thought it would be.
There was an infographic or a sheet that Z shared with us, and it said around I think 4.9 billion or something.
Yeah, that would be somewhere in that vicinity. I would have said it was like around 4 point something. But yeah, probably 4.9 would be. Where things start getting real pricey is when you hit 40. meaning like, because you want to get to Oracle 40 if you want to get to level 10s of your knowledges. And that's really where you're going to start paying. I think up to then it was maybe 3.5 or something, or 3.4, and then if you're going to gold it, it's going to get real expensive quick on the leveling from 39 to 40.
Sapphire, is there anything else anything that you would like to add to the building section of the discussion?
Yeah, it's important to get your Oracle to 40, of course, because then you'll be able to get your knowledge levels to 10, if you can, I did my buildings at level 30, 39 maybe, or definitely at 40 with gold. I did as much as I could with resources. But, this update came after a big training day for us. So I used a bunch of my resources training. But, I always keep a small stockpile. So I was able to use what I could. And then I had a small amount of gold that I used. But, I think some people are waiting for megas, before they update, which is probably smart because they can kind of see, what other people are doing and learn from it. But overall, I think I made the best decisions I could with, what I was given, advice from the leaders in my clan. And I think, I made the best decisions I could at the time. And I feel happy with my progress. So
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad I did it with resources too, up until that point. I definitely didn't have the gold. I saved a lot of gold by doing it that way that I can now use for knowledge. Unfortunately, I only had about 3.8 billion saved up prior to the update. And I used about half of it or more on the buildings. But then, I jumped into the knowledge side of things as well, just a little bit. And it's really easy with gold. I mean, like I said, my first tree was about 300 million gold. My second tree was about 600 million gold. The third tree is about 1.8 billion gold, which I have yet to finish, but hoping to finish that really soon. And then kind of moving on to the fourth tree, I think that one I said was almost 5 billion gold. So, I mean, there's a big jump there. So I think that's when I'm going to kind of switch over and start using my shards that I've saved. Unfortunately, I'm going to run out, but I just have to keep trekking through and farming shards. I know it's a little tough, especially for people that didn't save shards. Like right before this update, if you didn't save up some shards, you kind of feel a little stuck right now, because unless you're going to do like what OG did and kind of use gold for all the buildings, you kind of feel stuck. So I guess the best thing to do is really focus and jot to try and get some shards if you don't have any, just to kind of put them towards those first buildings to get to 37 Oracle. And then you can kind of start working on the knowledge trees and stuff like that. And it's really just a, do it at your own pace kind of thing.
Just a question. So, I don't know if you guys have been following my videos and stuff, but like one thing that I've been advocating personally is take your time with it. And I'm personally going to take a lot of time with how I would like to process the update. So the question that I had is, if you guys, like you were clearly talking about Palace level 37, would you say that Palace level 37 is a good waiting point for like people that don't have enough resources or gold to push to a higher level where they can start working on their knowledge? Or would you say it's better to save those resources and gold that they want to spend to work on the knowledge and just use them for the higher palace first before they can move on to knowledge? I just want to make sure we get that also for the video.
I think they should do buildings first, personally. Get them as high as possible. And then since your first knowledge tree is just with gold, once you kind of get your Oracle level higher and higher, you can just max out that first tree, as soon as possible in knowledge, up until, as far as you can for your Oracle level at least. And then focus all of your efforts on the buildings.
Yeah, I agree. I think buildings are in some way are probably more important than even the knowledge is to some extent. There's a lot of benefits. I mean, if you, I mean, they've also added a lot more bonuses to some of the buildings that never had bonuses, like
Yeah, the Heroes Abode, the Rune Workshop.
the Rune Work. Yeah,
They get the Rune Workshop gives 30% offense attack bonus and an attack. The Heroes Abode gives if you get to level 36, it gives 30% and defense and bonus and attack.
Yes.
There's
That's
another
90%.
building that gives for health during an attack. I think that's the I can't remember which one that is right now.
I wrote them down. Hall of Mysteries, the Rune Workshop, and the Heroes Abode.
Yeah,
Hero.
And those are really crucial. Yeah, just to even level 36, it's 30% jump for each.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Are we okay to move on to the knowledge at this point? Is there anything else that we would like to add to the building section?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is manners, specifically like leveling your manners to level 40 and your farms to level 40, because you obviously have a lot of those. And then also there's some other buildings that I've yet to do, like your wall to level 40, as well as a couple of other buildings that come after, that Oracle, which is really crucial to get to level 40 as soon as possible. I haven't done those yet. I'm going to save them for like my clan battles. And really focus on leveling those during clan battles to help with points and do them over time. So that's personally my strategy for those. But it's up to you kind of how quickly you can do them or want to do them, but they're definitely secondary.
Well, this is also a good week for construction because of the weekly competition, and especially because it's now awarding coins. It's at least worthy to cover the last checkpoint, because you'll get something to like 4 or 5. I could be wrong. 300,000 or 400,000 coins, which is going towards that new
Seasonal store.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the topic of the seasonal store, I tried my best to contact one of the people that I am like in contact with from Plarium to figure out whether the runic coins actually stay in your account or they're going to be reset. I didn't get a reply from them, but what are your guys' opinion? I feel like they should stay, but I feel like there was no mention of them.
I just saw a screenshot that said that it will roll over to the next season, but I'll try to find that for you for certain.
Yeah, if we could get that would be perfect, because for some reason, I
it
wasn't able
says
to get a reply.
all the coins that you've earned but haven't spent during the current season will be saved. You will be able to spend them when the seasonal store next opens.
Awesome. Perfect. So in that regard, it might even be better to just do enough buildings or knowledge to get the last checkpoint, because most people are probably not going to place for the event and then just save for the next time there is a building event and then just spend some more again over there just to make more coins.
Yeah, I'd say that's excellent advice.
And saving some farms so that you can do that, I think, is the best way to go, because you definitely need all your buildings up to level 40 up until the Oracle 40. Like, that's crucial. Definitely takes priority. I feel like over everything, just so you could finish level 10. Knowledge is a lot of stats and stuff. Like, you definitely need that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I guess we can move on to knowledge.
Yep.
And that is, does anyone want to get started with some of the knowledges that you guys want to talk about?
This feels just like a Zoom call from like university. It's like,
Oh, I hope not.
I love it. It's just giving me memories.
I guess we're just talking about the update. I mean, like, I just feel like it's a lot less daunting than people think. I mean, it seems like it's daunting when you put like all this kind of numbers in front of it, but I mean, you just kind of take it one step at a time. I mean, look, I got really far with like just 2 billion gold. Like, I got really far. Just doing buildings and some resources that I still had left over. Similar to Sapphire, we had that crazy training day very recently, so we used a lot of our resources.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have like this massive stockpile to just kind of go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for us are also a small clan, we got an unlucky Fury. Our enemies really wanted to win, so they were just like throwing troops away, and we had to train multiple times, unfortunately. Um, so, like
During
coming
the
into the
Fury, yeah.
update, yeah, coming into the update, I was personally also um, low on most of my normal resources, and I spent quite a lot of gold just to get some speed boost because there were no packs for me to purchase at
Hmm.
the time, and I just had to like try to train some troops. So I think the one thing that I wanted to talk about before we move on is we were like chatting about this yesterday, but we were talking about like how big of an update, or sorry, how big of a difference the T8s would make, but more importantly, how we also felt that the T7s would still be part of the bigger picture and not just the T8s. I feel like at least within my own alliance, we also came to a conclusion that the T7s are still going to be really relevant for us. So before we go into the topic of talking about which knowledge to do and how each of the knowledge affects your performance within the game, I feel like we should also talk about um, the role that the T7s are going to have within the game even after the update.
Well, I'm a bit of an old timer in this game, and I mean I've been playing it since it started, and I can tell you from experience that every time we had an upgrade, I mean T4 was the initial first level. I don't really remember the T5, but I can tell you T6. When we went up to T6, there was little to no difference between a T6 and a T5 initially. You needed to then pour a ton of money and time into maxing out the T6 tree before you saw real benefits of it. And that's the same when we moved up to T7s. If you originally saw like your T6s up against a T7, it was T7s were a waste because it was double the amount of money and it was really like no benefit. But obviously, when you max those trees out, then those things became real valuable. In this case, like because I guess I'm going to talk about the T8 tree, I would say it's easily the same thing. I mean the only it's not you not only need to max out the T8 trees, you need to max out the offense, defense, and health to really start to see the huge benefits of the T8. So they've made it not disastrously, but they've made it so that if you're going to route, you're going to have to max 4 trees, not 1. So it's kind of rough if you really want to be packing that power.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they cost shards, to train them. And you kind of need those shards, I feel like, to max your knowledge, right? Like, to get stronger. Like, I feel like right now, I mean, people will have T8s. Like, there's those people that have been playing the game, top clans for years, and they're going to finish all the knowledge trees and everything, and they'll be maxed probably this game, like, clan battle. And those players, great for them, like, that they're able to do it. But I just personally feel like, for my level of gameplay, like, I definitely need to focus on some other things first, but T8s are important. Like, there's definitely going to be an advantage to those that have them unlocked and can do some Citadel knowledge. Like, I think actually the Citadel knowledge helps for this building event, the special event we have going on. I think you can actually do Citadel knowledge and get points now for that
Yeah.
special building event,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So I'm definitely going to do some Citadel myself personally, probably right at the start of the clan battle. So we'll see.
Perfect. So
Yes.
one question, unless there's something that you want to add, Sapphire, before we move on.
Oh, about the T8s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be focusing on them for a little while too. I definitely will be working on health, offense, and defense, as well as fortress for right now, because there's knowledge for the T8 in each of those trees.
Mm-hmm.
And like OG was saying, you need to get that knowledge done first before you can really have those T8s be effective against T7s. And I guess some people have T8s and are using them right now, but I think in the majority, most people in the game are not going to be using them for a little bit, as of right now.
Right. And I mean, even amongst the big clans, I think if you had, say, a handful that already have T8s, it's going to be a waste for them because everyone else is going to be using T7s. So,
Yeah.
It's not going to be, as you just said, I think it's in many ways a safer, better route to go build the health offense, defense first before, delving hard into the T8s.
Yeah.
Right, and it's really personal preference, I think, looking at each of the trees, which one do you do first? Like, what do you play most, Are you a fortress player? Is your clan constantly doing stronghold sieges and competing in clan battles? Or are you guys more of a smaller clan and, you're a really big trap account and you want to, focus on towns and trapping, and defense? Or are you guys more of a, are you an offensive player? Or are you a spies player? The T8s tree, if you're a spies player and you could do your citadel, you might still have some luck with those T8 spies. I mean, it's a little tough. I wouldn't really do that. I'd still focus on some of the other trees if I was doing spies, but I don't know. I've seen some really strong T8 spies out there already. It's pretty crazy to see them. Some crazy battles.
Yeah. One other question or concern is I've talked to many players who said, okay, I moved to this clan, which requires me to play my killers, and killer is my third or fourth troop type. And now, in order to get my third or fourth troop type, it's going to be a lot of heavy lifting for me to be able to move the Valkyrie knowledge. Is there a specific scenario where players should return to what is like their first choice and try to adjust just to be able to move to the T8s, or do you think this is also something that makes the difference where you have to choose whether you want to do the ultimate T8s or you want to stay with your T7s and just improve them? I think keep that in mind if you're also trying to get this update. You want to still be able to use your T7s because I feel like it's just inevitable and it's designed in a way that it makes it super expensive to move to the T8s.
I mean, we just have these new ghosts that appeared, and I got so many runes, like it's ridiculous. And I only hit one of the new ghosts. So if that's the case, I mean, it's easy to get runes now. There's really no excuse, for not using it your first. You can go back to your first if you need to. You should be able to get the runes if you didn't have it before. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. First or second, Citadel level isn't too bad.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. As I was explaining, I made a big boo-boo first. I mean, I think the second day.
On the Citadel?
But it was exactly what you just brought up, Hound, was that I'm basically a siege player, but, when we were all in the same clan, we needed more cavalry. So I said, okay, I'll switch over to cavalry. And lo and behold, I completely forgot what level my cavalry Valkyrie was at, which was quite high. It was 5. And so I did my siege one first, easy, no problem, since that was number 1. So then went to cavalry, didn't really pay too much attention. And lo and behold, I think after the second one, I said, I'm down like 300 or 400 million shards. How did that, it's a stupid mistake on my part, but I was like, I didn't realize, like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm now going to stay with Siege for a little bit.
Shit. Well, yeah, I mean, you'll get there. I mean, I guess it has to get done eventually, but 5th level is rough.
But definitely, as you said, Hound, it's a lot of us have maybe forgot, like, oh, our troop type, what our troop type Valkyrie is, and yeah. That could be a problem if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I think people that have moved to using T8s are going to have to go back to their first or second troop type when it comes to T8s.
Yeah, and I feel like that's going to change how the game gets played because, for example, like someone like me who only has one troop type and I'm like super focused on siege, if people go back and somehow have more melee, is that going to make the game um, like shift the direction of the game?
Just focus on whatever your Citadel first or second level is. Now you can get the runes pretty easily with the new shamans, so take advantage of that. And yeah, just focus on your first type. And yeah, I really hope that there's not a lot more melee. It kind of sucks when there's melee everything, because that kind of tends to be the case a lot of the time. Yeah, I mean, it's good for Siege. I'm a Cavs player, so I mean, I play other types as well now, but
well, Sapphire is a melee.
Yeah.
I know, she hurts me. And whenever I get an onslaught from blood, I'm like thinking of Sapphire totally being the one that's killing me.
Yeah, but I got to say, I think when we were all in the same clan, she was scoring far better shards and points than the rest of us were.
Yeah, well, that's because Sapphire is a really great player.
Well, I was using killers or ranged usually, not my melee. So
I guess it really depends, on the clan that you're in, right? Like, if there's really strong players with that type, you kind of share shards. Like OG, when you were playing Cavs and I was running Cavs at the same time, we would probably get less shards because we're both, pretty strong, accounts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of steal from each other, I guess. But I mean, that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
So, I guess I was going to talk, maybe I'll talk a little bit about the towns tree, just because I made some notes about it. It's because it's a little bit of a weird tree. It's something it's a mechanic that hasn't been in the game before. And that's, at the end, that's Bloodlust, which is pretty cool. So Bloodlust, in theory, or in the sense, to explain it, it gives you up to, I believe it's 200% at max level. Pretty sure, that's what I've heard, at level 10. And what it does is basically you just attack a town, like right before you join an onslaught, or once you're in an onslaught, you can send a troop, just attack a town to activate your Bloodlust, which gives you 200% of a stat. I didn't write down what the stat is. I think it's offense or something. But 200% bonus for like 30 seconds, but you can't shield. So for a smaller player that doesn't have any T4s and can't take onslaughts with just their double hero home, it's probably not good to use Bloodlust. But Bloodlust, 200% of a stat, that you could activate right before onslaughts. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that could help a lot. So I mean, there is an advantage to the tree. It only helps you, again, not in fortress battles, only attacking towns. So it's good if you're a trap. It's good for increased onslaught host size. So if you're an onslaught host, you're probably going to end up doing towns tree, before you do some other trees to focus on your onslaught size. What else is there? Yeah, I mean, the main thing you would do it for is for Bloodlust. I'd say that's the main focus. And it's definitely a priority. I don't know where I would place it on my list yet. I haven't started my 4th, 5th, or 6th, but it's definitely going to be in there somewhere. There's definitely advantages to it. It's a matter of how you play, I think. Are you more of a towns player, or are you more of a fortress player?
Or if you're more of an OS host.
Yeah, or an onslaught host, yeah, because you want to focus on your subs. But I think those are the only 2 reasons why I would do those early. And I mean, it's 440 knowledges. So if you're one of those people that has a lot of shards stocked up, like I'm talking like those people with 5 billion shards, I mean, those guys are probably focusing on Town's Tree a little bit earlier because there are so many knowledges in it, which is something that I've heard from people just to bang it out. But those are people that are going to have their 6th tree done, in a month. So, or they're done already. So I really can't compare myself, to those people. But there are more knowledges in it. So if you have the shards stocked up, I would focus on it. So, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like, if I did that as my 6th knowledge, that would be 440 knowledges I'd have to do at a crazy cost. It kind of, I don't know. And it's just something that I've been considering because it is so expensive.
Yeah, it's the one with the most.
I know. So it's like, well, what do? Is it the one that I definitely would want as my 4th or 5th or 6th? I don't know. But if I did it 6th, I feel like it's going to take a crazy amount of time. Like it would never get done. So that's just something I'm thinking about in my head. I haven't quite decided yet. So, or maybe you could even do it in your first 3 just to bang it out because it is so many, because you could do it with gold. So that's another option. So it really, again, it depends how you play. I mean, what do you think, Hal? You do.
I personally would. I mean, I've already decided how I want to go about the knowledge, and I think town is just too um, difficult for me personally, especially with like the playstyle in like being a more condensed player. Um, I
Mhm.
already decided that I don't even want to attempt the town knowledge just because I want to minimize my influence. And I feel like this update's just going to make everyone go above 1 trillion. Like it's inevitable, 100%. And I feel like if I do only a few of these 6, I'll be able to retain a specific amount of influence and be weaker compared to any other person that's going to play town for a while, but at least like retain my influence and hopefully not impact my clan. Because at the end of the day, like for smaller clans, it's always about I feel like it's the size of the players, but it's also about the punch. I feel like you want to get a balance between the both worlds, and I feel like doing town for at least me in my current state is just something that's like really far fetched and probably not something that I want to do until like I decide I want to be a bigger player.
Well, I can tell you from going up to 40 and up to Oracle 40 and doing about 2.8 of the knowledges, I've gone up about 400 billion, maybe 500. So, I mean,
Wow.
and definitely the knowledges were not that much. Where you're going to get killed is on the construction, and especially on higher. The higher up you go into the 38s, 39s, and 40s, you're going to be really piling on the influence. So
Yeah.
I guess we were sort of saying like maybe if you were going to say 37 as a stop point to see where you are, that might be a good place to just park for a while if you're worried about the influence jump.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I'd
mean,
agree with that.
the update just has so many different aspects um, that it's not just like a hero level that you just level up your hero and your influence doesn't change, or or even like Valkyrie, which doesn't really do that much of a damage until like this. I feel like the Valkyrie knowledge also with T8s just does a big dent in like the influence section.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. You're if you're going to go that route of upping the T8s Valkyries, it's going to be you're also adding a lot of influence.
And if it's a higher level, it's probably unbelievable, just like it was the last time with T7s. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just by the influence alone, you probably want to focus on your first, your first knowledge, your first level of the Citadel. So I mean, I'm kind of fortunate. I did mine. My first level is my main type, but I think for others, just switch back to your other type. Now you can get runes pretty easily. So yeah, it's not a problem. I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like switching types is going to be easier than ever now. Just because of the runes. I think that was the worst part about it, for me at least.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be easy to switch back, but then for some people that like as I was mentioning, the issue was they moved to a specific clan just to use the second or third troop type. So it's just going to create some sort of difficulty. But I think it all comes down to how they would like to approach it, which is also why I was mentioning it before we talked about the knowledge, because as Odin or OG mentioned, it's if you want to use your T8s, you need your offense, defense, and health. Um, but also keep in mind that those stats aren't just affecting your T8s versus the T8 tree, which is completely focused on the T8s. Which also brings me back to like my recommendation, which was also like probably doing Fortress, Health, and Offense as your top 3, because you would want to keep your T7s in the picture, even though you know that the T8s are going to have a difference. Because keep in mind, if you're trying to minimize your influence gain, you also want to avoid like suddenly bursting with such a big power difference, which would just put you in like a completely different, I feel like, group with regards to how your competition starts to match.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have that problem in our clans. I mean, just because we're always going to get matched up against each other. Um, but yeah, I do understand that. I mean, you don't want to get too large, specifically as like all of your individual players, but you also want to be strong, right? I mean, you want to win. So you kind of have to still focus on, you know, your upgrades and stuff. So I wouldn't let, you know, influence be the first thing that you're thinking of all of the time, because if you are growing and you are fighting, you are leveling those knowledges to warrant, you know, having that higher influence. So it's hard, you know, I'm not a big influence police person. I mean, you obviously don't want to have so many troops that, you know, you're so big that you can't, you know, you're crippling your clan for no reason. But I mean, things like influence, like knowledge influence and buildings, I mean, that stuff, you need it to be stronger, to better help your clan. So, I mean, for me, I wouldn't hold back on any of that stuff for influence.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that stuff's going to make you stronger.
Yeah, like you need to do it. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get off in about 5 minutes. So can I say my little spiel here about offense and T8s?
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. In some ways, I mean, I've always been an apostle of offense because it's got the best little benefit of it is not only are you going to, you know, win an attack, but if you actually lose, you've got a thing called damage that offense generates, and damage makes shards. And I know they've kind of stopped, you know, with the new updates, they've made it not so rewarding, but there's still that added benefit of, you know, when people come to me and say, "Hey, I'm not making any shards," I say, "Look, start making wood farms because often it's what generates shards." So I'm always advising people to go the offense route just for that point alone, and especially since we have now this, you know, now more shard oriented upgrades. People are going to need them more than ever. So I am almost, I am biased on the offensive tree. So the thing about it is that there are a lot of things in it that, you know, if you're looking to keep things down, you don't have it. What I don't like about this is that you have to, it's more compartmentalized, meaning like you have an upgrade for range defense during defense, and you know it's more built on that kind of, if you want to get to like a part of the tree that you want, you're going to have to upgrade all the other stuff before it, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, especially if like killers or other things. But and there are other things here that may not be a lot of use to a lot of people. Like, do you really need training limits to be very high? As well as, do you really need to have a? I do believe that having a bigger march is better, but you know, you might not want to max out the last ends of these trees because you might find that having X amount of warriors on a march is smarter for the way you play. So I would say the thing about, you know, which Hound was kind of getting at is that you don't necessarily have to do everything in all these trees. But unfortunately, Plarium does make it so that, like, if you want to get to a certain thing, you have to do the stuff beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And the T8s are, the big pain is that you have to, if you want to get to, say, like, you're a siege guy and you really want to get your T8 siege, you're going to have to build, you're going to have to pay the piper and unlock all the others before that. So you're going to have to unlock melee, you're going to have to unlock range, you're going to have to unlock cav and killers for that. And the good news is that the further along you go in that tree, you actually can just concentrate on your area. So say you just want killers. You'd have to go through and unlock all the others beforehand, but when you got to the actual, like, offense, defense, and health improvements for the T8 killers, you can just do those. You don't have to max out all the others. So it's you can do that where you don't need to worry about maxing all the other T8s or combat trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. And I'd like to say the same thing goes for the defense tree. I mean, you have all those useless things in there. The Plarium kind of makes you do, like, I don't play with, certain troop types. So again, like, you kind of have to do the troop types that you don't need it for also, just to kind of get to the bottom of the tree, which is where the best, I think the best parts of the knowledge tree are. Within the defense tree, you have the Thor's defense, which is 160% total defense. I mean, that's great. And then there's also some other things like, I think the number of warriors on a march increase stat is really important. If you want to be able to compete for shards, you need a bigger march. So, I mean, it is harder to obviously have that many troops, but I think it's really important, especially for reinforcements, like when you really need that bigger size. Like if you're a smaller clan and you need to be able to fill, forts during home gang better, this is a really great way to do it, is by not these trees that have the warriors on a march increase stat. And this one, defense tree has plus 50%, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, I think the best thing is that to note for it is that it helps with both attacking and defending. The defense tree isn't just for attacking. So, I mean, it's good for stronghold defenses. So if you're a clan that focuses on that, it's really good to have the defense trees done, as well as, there's knowledge for training speed, which is kind of a little side thing, but I mean, the more training speed you can get, the better. So I think the defense tree is pretty good, personally.
Okay, well, I got to get going, and thank you for for including me in this phone call.
Thank you for showing up. Really means a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. It was awesome.
Hey, anytime. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Right.
Bye.
All right.
Catch you later.
Bye.
So I guess, Sapphire, if you just want to talk a little bit about the other two trees, and then, I guess we can do that.
All right. Well, the health tree is very similar to defense and offense. At the bottom of the health tree is just at the same as the bottom of the offense and defense tree is the Thor's health, which I think is really important because it does give the 160% total health to all your troops. So, if you can get to that, that's really important. You do have to have your Oracle to level 40. And you do have to go through all of the other levels. Like we were just saying, some of the things you may not need if you, only play with one troop type. But I think that's a really good stat for your troops to have. But health is, the health tree is something really important to have. Because it helps you with defense and offense. It was, something I felt like I needed to get done. So it was one that I went ahead and did.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like when OG was, he's not here anymore to talk about it, but he said he focuses on offense because it helps with shards, right? Like lumber mills over, other buildings. And I personally, I've gone the route of health and having all iron mines, just because that means my troops are stronger and they live longer. And that's kind of the way I've seen it work out personally. I mean, it is good to go for shards. I mean, if all the power to you, but I think you can either go a balanced route or you can go all, one which way or the other. And it's still a minimal amount of stats, whether you pick one over the other.
Yeah. I mean, it's two different ways of looking at it. I've tried both ways, doing all lumber, all mines. And I see the benefits of both for sure. You definitely get more shards if you do all lumber. But, with all mines, it's harder to kill your troops. It is. It just depends on what you're doing, what your style of play is, what competition you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish. So, But I think having the health tree done is, or, as much done as you can get, depending on your oracle, will really help your troops because it'll help them stay alive longer. So health is really important for offense and defense. So getting that done as much as you can will help.
I think, and like the thing that we keep coming back to, or the point that we come back to over and over again is, at the end of the day, it's every person has their own specific play style, and I think it's worth mentioning that there is really no bad play style, whether you're doing just fully traps or working on like only joining onslaughts and not just solo hits, or if you're just playing tiles and just do your solo hits all the time, or if you're doing scouts, I guess that also works. So I think it's also worth like keeping in mind that like this update isn't meant to be done in a month, 2 months, or super quickly. It's a big update. We didn't get an update for almost a year, and just do what you're fully comfortable with within like the starting days or months of the update, and then eventually you can always move to a different playstyle or a different approach. But I think that is something that we need to focus on because I feel like some people are overwhelmed with the update. And that's just because they think they need to do everything in order to be strong. And I think that is kind of part of the mistake that some people make. Your playstyle doesn't really depend on the newer troops, at least for the early stages of the update. And you shouldn't change completely just because there was an update that gives you better stats. You should just focus on what works for you and your clan, and then just eventually move on and make the different decisions. And I feel like having to choose between health, offense, and defense just is part of the dilemma because people have a really tough time deciding which one of the three to go for. And I think that's like something that is really dependent on your playstyle and shouldn't really impact how you approach the game. And you should just go with the flow and definitely work on that eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think, when Clarium came out with this update, they had in mind that this was going to take people a long time to finish. They wanted to give us something to do for a while to keep us interested in the game and with something to do. They didn't want people to just finish it soon and get it done quickly. They wanted to keep us coming back and playing and working towards our goals of getting it done. Not the average player is going to have this done fast. And to be honest, I was overwhelmed with it too. I still am. But I'm just going to take it day by day and get done when I can get done.
Yeah, and that's the best way. And I'm going to do the same exact thing, just kind of take it one step at a time. And I think what we're all kind of fearing is, how many shards am I going to be able to get, if I have bigger players in my clan that are able to max it faster. And I'm sure that applies to everyone at all levels of the game, right? Like there's always going to be someone that's smaller than the chief or in the clan that's stronger. But yeah, I think we're just kind of waiting to see on how we land and, can we compete? How easy is it going to be to get shards and, just keep pushing. So eventually we'll get it done like we always do. And, hopefully your clan supports you and, is able to kind of work together to achieve, the goal of being a better, stronger player. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And
so, yeah.
Like you were saying, everybody has a different play type, and there's no one way that, people play, and however they play is, however they go about updating is, there's no one way to do it.
I know, and there's some really cool things that in the update too, like the stronghold with the updating, the changing of resources in the clan stronghold. I mean, it's great. You don't have to sit there and do it for 24 hours anymore, 48 hours
Oh
during
my
a plant
gosh.
battle just to win influence category. So
Yeah.
that's an amazing thing. I mean, that was so broken. So thank God for that. And I don't know what else we have that, what else in the update was really amazing, but there's a couple of things. Subscriptions, not affecting pack timers.
Yep.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So there's been some really good things in the update as well. So, I don't know. I'm still excited. I'm still going to play. So, we're going to keep going at it. And, if anyone has any questions, definitely message Hound or one of us, and we'll be happy to help you and talk about it. But I hope that this video, kind of helped give a good understanding of each tree, when you should use gold, when you should use shards and resources, how much shards you need to really save up, and kind of, it's doable, at least to get the buildings done, and start on your first knowledge trees. So I think the later knowledge trees are going to be a little daunting for everyone. So just pick the trees that are most applicable to you and the way you play, and you should be fine.
Awesome. I definitely agree with that sentiment. I feel like it's best to decide earlier on, and I know Odin's not here to confirm, but I feel like it's best to decide earlier on with a strategy that you think is going to work for you and work towards that goal. And that's the reason that we're making this video, and that's the reason I think Zay and I decided to um, talk to two other players who are also really knowledgeable about the game, just to see um, whether there are any commonalities with our way of thinking. And I think we can conclude from at least the discussion that we had today that there is a commonality. You should have a specific goal and just work towards that goal. And your goal also should try to make you at least enjoy the game. The game is not supposed to just be a occupation or something that's daunting or scary. It's meant to be fun. So try your best to have fun with the update. I know that it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially for some of the smaller players who just feel like it might be a never-ending grind. Keep in mind that the packs have also yet to change, and with all these big updates, there are really big improvements to the packs. And I think in 5 or 6 months' time, the packs would be just super loaded again, where we would just see players be able to boost all the way and catch up to the players that are rushing now. So I guess that is also something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the packs will get better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think right now it's, just focus on your building. So I know one thing that people I'm shocked by the amount of people that have said this to me. Oh, I'm still working on my old secret knowledge. And I'm like, really? For real? Like, you should not be working on your old secret knowledge at all anymore, if you need it. So focus on, on the buildings, like immediately. Stop working on the old knowledge. So that's my 2 cents. But a lot of people have messaged me about it. Just kind of shocked how many people were still working on it, and still were planning on working on it even with this update. But it's way better to focus on buildings and then get your first knowledge tree in the new tier done with gold as soon as possible. So cool. Well, thank you, Hound, for having us and for talking with us about this. This has been really cool. And again, I mean, if anyone has any questions or anything, write in the comments or message Hound or any of us really. Happy to help you.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
showing up to
thanks
the
for
call.
having us.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you, Z, for setting this up, because I didn't really have the connections, and you pulled through. So it means a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And I think so many people are so stressed and are overwhelmed by this update, and it just sucks. Like, it's really not actually that bad when you just kind of have to take it in stages. And like you said, I think you said it best. I mean, it's not meant to be done overnight. It's really meant to be done over time. And the people that waited and aren't level 40 right now, they're going to boost during this clan battle, and they're going to get these extra coins that, people that boosted before aren't going to get. So, I think there's advantages for everyone that wait. So just keep waiting and building at your own pace. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is that
cool.
all? Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.